In this clip, I'll show you many patterns, programming patterns relating to the loop. Okay, so the first kind and the common problems or the common usage of the loop is like we will iterate through all elements in the loop. So we start with data is 1, 2, 4, 7 minus 2 minus 5, and we will use iterate through all elements. So in the case that we use all elements, so we can use for e in data. Okay, and then in each iteration, e will be each element of the list. So for example, this is the one that you have ever known before. For sum of data is 0. And then sum of data is sum of data plus e. Print sum of data. So this is it will like okay, all summation is 7. So this is the first one. So next we can use the same pattern like this to once we want to iterate through our elements. Like this is the an example of how can we find the sum of our elements. And next, we can use min to find the min and max of the data. Guys, look at this. Data is 1, 2, 4, 7 minus 2 minus 5. And then we can, if you want to find min or max, and you don't know or actually there is a function that you can find the min values or max values of a list, but many times we have to write it by ourselves because the data maybe is not in the list or it is like a little bit complicated. So the idea is quite simple. We start with min is the mean of data is uh, at first you have to set like there are two ways that like you set it the first or the initial values of min of data to be the like the maximum or the highest values. For example, I start with 100, and for e in data, if e is less than min of data is e, then print e. So you see that it will show the minimum or min of data. Okay, so we start with the maximum or the highest values that can be in the list or can be in the data. And then for each element in the data, if that element is less than min of data, store that element in min of data and then print e. So this is one of the example. Or if you don't know the maximum values, so you can start with the first element of the list. And then for e in data, you can like it will be same. Okay, so you can start with the first element also. And then for e in each data, of course, the first iteration in the first iteration, e will be same as min of data because you start a min of data with the first element. So in the first iteration, it will like it won't it won't enter this statement for sure, right? Because it's equal. So if e is less than min of data is e, and then print e. Okay, you can do it with max also. Start with max of data is data 0, same. And then if e is greater than max of data is e, then print e. And oh, sorry. Uh, oh, sorry, it's not e. It should be min of data. Sorry. because -5 is the last element also. So we print the incorrect variable, but correct values. This is not good. Okay, print min of data and print max of data. So you see the result. Okay, so this is a first few examples of iterate through our elements. And then, for example, in this example, the next example, I will separate uh, even and odd number into two separated lists. So I will start with, so this question, you can pause the video and think how can you do it by yourself, and then come back with the solution. So if I use the same data here, and then I will have a new to list that is even data and odd data to be the empty list first, and then use the same way for e in data. For e in data, if e mod to 0, if it is even, right, mod by 2 is 0, no remainder when you divide it by 2. If it is even, use even data append. This is the function of the list that you can append the data at the end of the list. So you can append e to the even data. Else odd data dot append e. Print even data and print odd data. This one. So you can see that this is the even data and this is odd data. So this is the way that you can work with like many kind of questions that work with all elements in the list. Okay, so this is just some kind of example. Okay, okay. Next, I'll show you the next thing. Like, okay, if you have an uh like this, a set or a list of data, but it will be like 10, 11, 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 5, 4, for example. And if you want to count it, if you want to count it, if you want to count the number, for example, in this list, number of 2, number of 2 is 2, right? Number of 10 is 2. Okay, number of 4 is still 2. Okay, I think I would like to add more number to be like to be 3. Yes, add 2. So if you know in advance that the range of this data is start from like from 0 to 11, that is the highest one, and we start with the lowest, but it's not in the list. I can start with actually the lowest is 1, right? But the best way is you can start with 0 and then try to count all numbers. So my plan is I will create a list that store the count. We can use counts. So counts of 11 or sorry 12 number start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are 12 numbers. Each 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 zero. This one is responsible for the number of 0. This one is for the number of 1, the number of 2, number of 3, number of 4, number of 5, number of 6, number of 7, number of 8, number of 9, number of 10, number of uh, 11. I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, okay. Okay. So I will try to count all numbers using this using this list. If 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 it is, for example, if the data is like, okay, if I want to count one, I try to add one to the location of number one. If it is one, okay. If the next data is two, I will add it here. If the next data is two, I will add one to here. If another two coming, I will use I add it here. Okay. So this is the idea of how can we count all elements here. So for E in data, for E in data, for E in data, counts of E plus 1. Count of E is count of E plus 1. So we can write it shorter using the compound statement. Counts of E is counts of E plus 1. So finally, we can use print counts. And you can see that, okay, there's no zero in the data. That is correct. And there are two of ones. We have one here and one here, right? There are three of twos. So 1, 2 here, 1, 2 here, and the last is 2. So there are three twos in the data. Only one of three, right? That's correct. So this is another pattern that we can use the for loop to count all elements in the list. Okay. Okay. So and we can do it like this, or you can use or apply this idea to like many things uh in your real life. Okay, so I hope that you enjoy with this example of some programming patterns. Okay, see you in the next video clip.